boy. Good boy. You wanna fuck me? You wanna fuck me like a good boy?
So The Boys episode 6 just dropped, and I have to say that I'm completely speechless. You know, this is an episode that I was really excited about, just because the last 3 episodes for the most part have been pretty good, but they've been getting a lot of hate online recently, and I kind of feel like it's valid for some parts. Especially like episode 4, a lot of people kept saying it was filler, and I totally get it for the most part. I feel like that episode, out of all the episodes, I think we'll look back on the season, that's probably gonna be the worst episode out of the season. It just seemed like it didn't really lead to anything crazy. Like, you basically had like the boys infiltrate like this old like building, I guess like the whole building sort of had like all this like substance that was making the boys kind of like go against each other, really. And that was kind of the whole point of the episode. I guess it was sort of meant to like get their frustrations out on each other, I guess, which, I mean, some of the scenes are pretty exciting for the most part, but I think the highlight of episode 4 was Soldier Boy and Homelander, just seeing them kind of like walk around. It's just like, it was felt kind of like, that's one of the few moments you've seen like Soldier Boy and Homelander like go on a mission together, I guess, if that makes sense. So it was pretty cool to see that. And just the whole like the part where like Soldier Boy locks up Homelander in that little like cage, and he's basically just like talking to him and shit. I mean, some of those scenes are pretty good. I thought the scene with Butcher and Homelander were pretty good in that episode, but for the most part, just, I don't know, like, like I said, out of all this season's been so great so far. I just feel like episode 4 is definitely the weaker link out of all of them. And also the whole like Annie thing with her dad and all that, like, I guess it was interesting for the most part, but overall, like I said, I think episode 4 is gonna go down as probably the worst episode of the entire season. It's not to say that's bad, but I think just coming off the first 3 episodes, I felt like it definitely was a letdown in that sense, I guess. But you know, I did like overall, like, The Boys is such a great show, man. It's so well made, and I feel like especially the last episode 5 and 6 were so much better than episode 4. Speaking of episode 5, you know, episode 5 was one of the weirdest episodes ever. You know, we basically have I guess certain perspectives from all the different characters in the show, and you kind of see how like you'll see like the same event play out. Like, they have like a meeting or something like with the soups, and you kind of see how like how they basically, where all of the soups basically go after the meeting ends. So you see kind of like Black Noir is basically like a wannabe like actor, I guess, which is pretty funny, I guess, but it doesn't, I don't know, dude, it's kind of just stupid in my opinion, but it's still entertaining to watch. You have the director from Rising, I think was the name of the movie they did in season 2 and 3. He's basically talking to Black Noir. He doesn't know that he's Black Noir. He's basically giving him all his acting advice. He's basically telling him that he's like a generational talent and all this crazy shit. And like, for him just to die by the Deep was so fucking funny in my opinion. But you know, the Black Noir storyline was interesting with the Deep in episode 5, and seeing Sister Sage basically trying to plot against Homelander is pretty interesting at this point. I thought like, damn, like, it seemed like it was inevitable, you know. I feel like Sister Sage kind of is tired of Homelander's shit, and she's obviously has these abilities to be super smart and read people's minds and shit, basically. So it sort of like made sense that like she would want to go against Homelander at some point. And then to see Ashley's character basically like have like that talking shit in the back of her head, it's so funny. Throughout this whole season, it's been so funny seeing that. It's definitely like a different side of Ashley that we see. It's kind of like, I feel like for the most part, it's her kind of ability, I feel like. And that's explained more in episode 6. Before we get to episode 6, you know, I feel like overall episode 5 was pretty funny, and it definitely was more on the goofier side than some of the other episodes. Obviously the whole Homelander and the terror scene with the dog, that whole thing was super hilarious. Dude, that meme where Homelander's literally bending down, that is probably one of the best Homelander memes that's ever come out of this show. It was just so out of pocket and it's raw. It's like you're trying to explain to somebody what The Boys is about, and then you just see that clip, you're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I feel like that clip is so fucking funny. And this whole episode was just weird. It was just a weird episode for the most part, but it was entertaining, I guess. I think the highlight of this episode was seeing Homelander and Soldier Boy go out on that mission, basically to that house in LA. They're trying to find what is it called, dude? It's called fucking it's called V1. So basically, like, the whole premise of the last couple episodes is like Homelander's trying to get like this V1, which basically is like an old formula for like compound V, but basically the people that have V1 are basically like immune or like immortal, basically. Like, they basically can't die. So it's very scary to think about Homelander getting the V1 in episode 4 and 5, just because, you know, like, the weight of it, you know, if he were to get his hands on it, like, it could basically mean the end of the world, basically. And him being a god, he's basically already a god, but him being literally a god is very scary for the most part. Just, that's the whole series point so far. I feel like they're just trying to like get what's called the virus to kind of like kill off all these soups. So, you know, definitely episode 5 for the most part is pretty entertaining, and there's a lot of funny moments. But overall, you know, people were saying this was filler as well, which I just totally disagree, bro. I think that this show, for the most part, is really fucking good. The acting is really good, and just the episodes are super entertaining. I feel like people sort of expect like every episode to be like a fucking banger, and I feel like that's the thing that's different about shows. I feel like for a movie, you know, you should expect that just because it's only 2 hours and you basically have to cram everything into that time period. So you basically have to make the most out of it, you know. I feel like a show, you have so much time to, you know, develop characters and kind of like stretch stuff out that you normally can't do with a movie. So I feel like for the most part, like that's the thing about shows, is that not every episode's gonna hit. I feel like one of the only few shows that's done that is Breaking Bad. I feel like that's a show that truly, like, besides maybe like early season 1, like all the other seasons from there on out, like every single episode's literally like a 9 out of 10. Like, it's insane. Like, and also Attack on Titan, I feel like that's another show that is super fucking well done. But basically, you know, that's besides the point. Basically, what I'm saying is that season 5 of The Boys so far has been so entertaining to me, and I feel like it's definitely better than season 4. I feel like season 4 for the most part was pretty good. It had a lot of crazy moments, but it was probably the weaker season out of all of them. Basically, that whole cliffhanger at the end of season 4 is the best part of that whole season. It's one of the best episodes of the entire series, really. So, but episode 5, man, was definitely an interesting episode when it came out. People were kind of like complaining about it, and you know, I feel like for the most part, you know, 4 and 5 are probably going to be the weaker links of the series for this season. I feel like just because there is so much expectations coming into those episodes, especially after the first 3 that were really good in my opinion. So yeah, I think we could talk about now episode 6, man. Wow. Episode 6 was so intense. Basically, the best way I can explain it is this, you know, Homelander getting the V1 right at the end, you know, you see his eyes just basically like shooting up into the sky, and you see Butcher saying run. Like, dude, it left me fucking speechless, dude. I cannot believe what just happened, you know. And if it's really true that like Homelander has a V1 in him, I really don't know what's gonna happen. I hope they don't go the direction of him like just winning, like Homelander winning and basically destroying the Earth. It's one of the most saddest endings to this show. I think it is the wrong ending. There is no way in hell that they will end it that way. They're trying to make this super crazy, and I feel like, you know, definitely leaving off on this cliffhangers are interesting because we don't really see him afterwards. There's a theories going around. I was reading on X post earlier that maybe like Soldier Boy is gonna like realize what he's done. He's gonna try to suck out the V1 out of him like he did with the other guy. What's his name? His name is Bombsight. You know, I apologize. I saw this episode like at 3 a.m, so my memory's a little bit foggy. I just woke up, so. But basically, Bombsight, though, that was a pretty interesting part of the episode. I feel like he's gonna be like a big part of the VOD Rising spin-off, which I'm really excited to see as well. That's gonna give a lot of context to like Soldier Boy, basically like the early stages of VOD Enterprises, basically. So, but basically the whole episode is basically them like tracking down like Bombsight's like former like girl, I guess, wife, I'm not sure. And basically like the premise is that they're trying to like, they have basically Huey and Annie like going to set up like the virus to kind of like spill out at this church basically for the next day. Then you have this old guy that was working at this movie theater who used to be like work for VOD. He's a big part of this episode. I thought he was really entertaining. Just seeing him kind of talk and stuff, it was pretty funny. The scene where he's with Mother's Milk in the beginning of the movie theater is pretty funny. The whole like AMC like preview recreation that did with Firecracker was super hilarious. Oh, speaking of Firecracker, I forgot to mention her death was super wild as fuck, dude. I was not expecting that at all. I thought like, damn, like I feel like for the most part she's gonna cut off. Her whole character just did not seem redeemable in any way. It just felt like she, every time she had a chance to like hold back and not give in, like she just kept doubling down on herself. And I feel like for the most part she was not redeemable. Like she had to go. Like she was just becoming a horrible person. She was completely caught up in this Homelander being a god shit. Basically another part of this season that they're doing, the Homelander being a god shit, super just insane. It goes to show how Homelander's truly just like losing himself, and you kind of see it throughout the season more and more. He's just completely just getting off the rails, dude. Seeing Homelander in season 1, he was very calculated and like smart. He really cared about the public perception. But after this point in this late into the series, you sort of see how he's completely just lost all like his moral compass, even though he never had a moral compass. But basically, like he basically just does not care what the public thinks about him anymore, you know. He feels like he is superior above everybody. You kind of see like he really is just evil in my opinion. Him beating up his son, to just all of the crazy shit he's done in the past, dude. Like Homelander is one of the best villains of all time, and Anthony Starr, man, deserves a lot of fucking credit, because without that performance, without him being this, I don't think this show's really the same. But you know, other than that, I feel like overall these past 3 episodes, episode 4, 5, and 6, are really just well-made episodes, man. And I'm really excited to see these last 2 episodes. I think they're gonna be very insane, and it's gonna be interesting, man. I've loved this show for the past couple years, man. Just watching it and seeing all these episodes, it's emotional knowing that's coming to an end. So I hope that this series ends off on a good note. I feel like for a lot of shows, it is hard to end it off good. I think it's rare when it ends off good, to be honest. But knowing the creators of The Boys, how much time they put into it, I feel like everything they've done from the little callbacks to like season 1, and you kind of feel like it's wrapping up the story, and I feel like that's what's so exciting about it, is that this show is so well done, it's so well made, and I feel like I truly believe that these last 2 episodes are going to be so peak, and I'll be giving a review on those episodes whenever they both come out. So other than that, guys, I really recommend watching The Boys. I think it's such a great show, and season 5 for the most part has been really entertaining. I feel like especially this past episode that just came out the other night, like just being able to like see that, it's so entertaining, man. And again, this show is so well made. It is personally my favorite show of all time. So like I said, I feel like Homelander, the way that it ended, it's so interesting to see what's going to go down, dude. I really hope he doesn't take over the world, because if he does, that's going to be so depressing. I can't imagine the ending where you just see him like floating in space and the whole world's exploding. Like that would truly be the most depressing ending ever, But other than that, guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. New videos out every week, and yeah, peace.